A very happy day to my dear students. I, Angel Singh, welcome you all to the online English classes for today. Children, today we have a very interesting chapter, that is The Boy Who Hated Trees. Yes, it is really an unusual title because we mostly, all of us, love trees a lot. But here, in this story, we are going to learn about a boy who hated trees, and something happened with him, and he realized towards the end how the trees are important to us. So let's start with the story. We have a boy named Nick, and his father wanted him to help him to plant trees the next day when he gets up. But Nick wanted to go for fishing, so he was least interested in planting the trees. That's when he started hating the trees, because he was of the notion that if there could have been no trees, then he would have gone to fishing freely and not spend time planting trees with his father. Then his father wished him good night and he went out of the room. It's been 1 hour since Nick is in his bed, and he was deep asleep when he started dreaming of something unusual. And he heard one rustling sound coming, and then he saw that there was a strange procession coming towards him. It was made up of trees of all kinds. The pine and elm came first, the maple and oak followed. The maple's leaves were flushed scarlet with excitement. The willow was weeping, and the poplar was trembling all over. Next came the fruit trees, led by the cherry. The walnut, the white birch, and the palm followed. And Nick was all frightened that what is happening here. He was very much unaware of the fact that he was dreaming. When the all trees they collected, then the pine started his speech, and he said them that this is the boy who hates trees. And then one by one, each and every tree started and giving them their reasons why it is the people, or why it is the boy who should not be living here along with the trees. Firstly, Cherry said that she cannot see the boys are of any use, because many years ago, when the cherry trees were scarce in the country, the boy named George cut down its great grandfather just to try his new hatchet. And the boys know so little, said the white birch. But she remembered of a boy from India that he carefully took out the bark without hurting it. Rest others used to simply cut the bark with the knives and took off its coat, even in the cold weather. The apple tree also disliked the boys, because once a silly boy wanted green apples, and it climbed up its branches and broke one of its limbs. Had any fruit been ripe, he would have tossed him down. This is what the apple tree had to say. Then the maple tree also got angry and said, "This boy said we were of no use, but this morning I heard him tease his grandfather for a cake of my sugar. I saw him eat with enjoyment," said the palm. "He was fanning himself with one of my leaves." The willow wiped her tears and said that she was so tired of boys. Why? Because this same boy made a whistle out of one of her children just that night. Then another tree spoke that they were not of any use. He was surprised to say that. Why? Because the boy was wearing the rubber boots that were made out of it. Then the trees crowded him around, and in a very exciting note, they all wanted to decide what to have to do. Then the elm said that they can take the help of the wind, and suddenly Nick found himself being carried away by the wind. He was not knowing where he was going, but he landed on a land of no trees. this was his wish in the beginning of the story, that he wanted to live in a land where there were no trees. So the trees took him and sent him through the wind to a land where there were no trees. Nick felt very frightened and he was all alone. Then he exclaimed to himself where he was, because he had never been to such a place. It was all deserted, it was full of sand, it was hot. The only place where he had seen such kind of pictures was his geography book. And from afar he saw something was coming towards it. He was frightened because there were no trees to climb. Then he realized that those were camels and people were riding over them. And one of the man lent him his hand to help him take a ride over the camel. While he was riding, he felt thirsty. He realized how important the tree was. Then, after a long distance, he saw that there was a branch, and he was very much happy seeing it. He walked towards it, he hugged it, and realized that yes, he loved the trees. And from then onwards, in just one night, he learned to see that how the trees are beautiful and how they are helpful. And the next day, when he woke up, he realized that he was dreaming, but the lesson was learnt by him, that the trees are useful and we cannot survive in a land where there are no trees. So I hope, children, you enjoyed the story. Go through it again. And yes, of course, we need to respect our nature. We need to love our trees and plant one whenever we get time. Thank you so much, children. God bless you all.